Shalom. Tonight, we'll be learning about Reb Meir Simcha of Dvinsk. We'll be learning a piece from his Or Sameach. I'd like to first give you a little sense of who he was, his special place in the world of Torah and Lamdonim. And I'd like to learn a piece about the obligation of Talmud Torah. And we'll do it as we've been doing before through this PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to share with you. You should be able to see it on your screen. Moment. There we are. Now, this picture of Reb Meir Simcha is, as far as I've seen, the only one that is available. And I look around for these things. Here's a picture of the shar of the first page of the Or Sameach on the Rambam. Just look at how he writes it. Say for Or Sameach chubar beratzon avinu shebashamayim. I'll call Sefer Mishnah Torah Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, and he lists his father's name and his grandfather's name. And this is the first printing. Riga is where it was printed. This is from one of the auction houses. And this I also found on one of the auction houses. This is the Or Sameach's handwriting. So he writes, you see at the very bottom of the page, let me just get my little spotlight. Right over here you say Meir Simcha Cohen. Yedido Dorei Shlomo. Now, a little bit about who he was, and to get a sense of where of his time frame. The series is going to be on Reb Meir Simcha of Dvinsk and Rav Yosef Rosen, the Rogachover of Dvinsk. There was a period of several decades when Dvinsk Dvinsk has three names. The Jews called it Dvinsk. It was called also Denenberg, and now it's called something like Dogba Pils. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's in Latvia. Now, it is in Latvia, but it is not far away from Lithuania. And so even though, and it was considered a large rabbinical position, and in a unique way, in a unique phenomenon, these several decades, the city of Dvinsk was the host to two of the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of that generation, Reb Meir Simcha and Rav Yosef Rosen, the Rogachover. We'll talk about them more, but just the basics. Reb Meir Simcha. So you see, he was born in this place called Baltrimans, which was not far from Vilna, Lithuania, 1843, and he passed away in 1926. His yurtzeit is on Dalet Elul. Now, he did not grow up in a vacuum. And once again, this is another one of these people who was, his father was a Talmud Chacham, his grandfather was a great Gaon, Rav Hanania Cohen. His mother was a big tzadekis. Her name was Osnat. I haven't heard many Osnats, but in those generations, I didn't realize how many there were. There is actually there are legends about his birth. One, his father and mother were big machnise orchim, and there was a great Rav that was visiting. I think it was Rav Meir Tickton, and he gave them a bracha that they should have a great child. There was another one that there was somebody who was terribly in need of funds, and the Rav and the mother took care of everything and blessed them that they should have a great son. Now, he was like a number of the people we've been speaking about, the Noda B'Yehuda, Rabbi Akiva Eiger, the Chasam Sofer, a child prodigy, a wonder child. He knew Tanakh. He went through it by age 7, and he remembered it his whole life. By age 9, he knew Nezikin and half of Nashim. And after his bar mitzvah, he was considered he was a well-known Ilui, and he learned in Aisha Shuk with this Rav Moshe Danishevsky Zatzal, who I don't know anything about him. Now, Bialystok was a city of great Talmidei Chachamim, and he married the daughter of a businessman, a Rav in Bialystok, and his wife was involved in business, and he was involved in an extreme, intense way in learning. That's his cultivation period in Bialystok, and he would learn in a base medrash, and his hasmana, his diligence, his nonstop learning was legend. They unfortunately they don't have any descendants. They had a daughter who suffered from what I read, some kind of illness. There was a Talmud who named his children. One of his children was named Meir Simcha after a Meir Simcha. Now, he was called to be Rav in Dvinsk in 1888. So you can see that he was 45 years old, but he stayed there for decades, and he ignored other rabbinical positions, including the position to be the Rabbi of Yerushalayim, which is one of the greatest rabbinical positions in the Jewish world. Now, just a little bit from Rav Zevin. Rav Shlomo Yosef Zevin, wrote about many great Talmidei Chachamim. He has a book called Ishim V'Shitot, Men and Their Approaches. This is not from there. This is from apparently an article that he published. I saw it in a biography of Rav Meir Simcha written by Rav Zev Aryeh Rabiner. And he writes as follows. I'm just going to read the first line here. Somebody who can explain with clarity like the Noda B'Yehuda did, Rabbi Cheskel Landau of Prague, Haseichel shel Atumim, the mind of the Sefer, the author of the Sefer Urim V'Tumim, Hahekev shel Agrav, the mastery of all rabbinic literature that the Gra had. Hahamaka shel Nesivos, the depth of the Nesivos. Rav Yaakov Mi Lissa, if I'm not mistaken. Derech HaChashiva shel Rabbi Kiva Eger, the way of thinking of Rabbi Kiva Eger, Hino Lamda, he's a Lamda. Now that's something that Rameir Simcha used to say, but in retrospect, it's also autobiographical because he combines a lot of these great great qualities together. I think next time I want to do. There's a wonderful piece where he explains a cryptic Gemara simply by his breadth of knowledge, and he takes a cryptic Gemara, brings it to life simply by knowing all the background and understanding the hints that were behind what the Chazal meant. Now, the one thing that is common to that is I won't say unique about Rav Meir Simcha, but that is prominent about Rav Meir Simcha is that he is very original. You don't find him being like someone else. He's like himself. The other thing, and he was referred to by the Talmidei Chacham of his generation as Sar HaTorah, the master, the minister of the Torah. His two main svarim that are popularly known are the Or Sameach and the Meshech Chochma. Or Sameach is on the Rambam, the Meshech Chochma is on Chumash. The Or Sameach is halachic, is lumdus, analysis, commentary on the Rambam. Meshech Chochma involves commentary on the Chumash, halacha, which is woven into his commentary on the Chumash, and philosophy, poetry, even mysticism. He also has chidushim on the Bavli and the Rishalmi. I know that there are notes that were published in the Minchas Chinuch also, which I haven't seen. Now, this particular piece discusses how much a person is obligated to learn Torah. Now, there is an approach out there that says every person is obligated to learn Torah constantly, unless he has some reason to do something else, and unless he has something that is, so to speak, docha Talmud Torah, that pushes aside Talmud Torah. That is an approach. Rav Meir Simcha doesn't take that approach, but there are sources that seems to say that you have to constantly learn. Amarava, this is a Gemara in Yoma, and the Gemara in Yoma is discussing the pasuk of V'dibarta bam, and it has a number of drashas on V'dibarta bam. Tana Rabbanan V'dibarta bam v'lo b'tefila, that in the words of Kriyat Shema you can interrupt, and sure enough, there's all sorts of halachas in the Mishnah and Brachos about when you can interrupt during Kriyat Shema, but not during tefillah, not during prayer. You can speak in them, but not in other things. Make them your fixed thing and not something that you do on the side. Somebody who speaks mundane speech, which seems to be non-Torah speech, he transgresses a positive commandment. You should speak in them in the words of Torah and not other things. He transgresses a negative commandment. Now this apparently he's learning that pasuk in Koheles. Again, this wouldn't be a biblical prohibition because it's a pasuk from Nach, but kol advarim yigim, all things are wearisome, are weary. Lo yuchal ish ledaber, a person can't speak, and he's understanding a person can't speak about those weary things. Rather, speak about the very Torah. That's very much in the theme of Chazal's approach to Koheles, that Koheles is talking about the things other than Avodas Hashem as weary, as worthless. Now, Rameir Simcha says this halacha that somebody who speaks in mundane matters is transgressing a positive mitzvah, implying that you've got to learn Torah constantly. That's not la halacha. Why? Because we hold that v'dibarta bam, the way we paskin is that there's a mitzvah of kriyat shema d'oraisa, there's a biblical mitzvah of kriyat shema, and it comes from the words v'dibarta bam. You should speak in the words of kriyat shema. So Rava, though, holds like those that said in Chazal that kriyat shema is not d'oraisa. The kriyat shema is a rabbinic mitzvah, implying that mitzvah v'dibarta bam is telling us one of the dinim about Talmud Torah. So one source that would imply that Talmud Torah has to be constant is diffused as non-authoritative. Now, Rav Meir Simcha's approach is as follows. I'd like to read this inside, first of all, to get a sense of his the beauty of his language, and see how he develops the idea himself. V'nir li leva'er. I would like to explain as follows. It seems to me that we should explain as follows. De be'emes kol ha'mitzvos heim shavim lapachos shebechfusim u'lemoshe Rabbeinu olav shalom. All of the commandments are identical for the lowest of the low of the people of Israel and to Moshe Rabbeinu olav shalom. The Torah achas yeh lachem ksiv. The Torah says that there's one Torah for everybody. The different mitzvah obligations have limits. For instance, they're clearly defined. Taking a lulav, so just holding on to them according to the din Torah, just picking them up together, you're yotzei the mitzvah. The Gemara tells us that the Yekirei Yerushalayim, they used to walk around with the rest of the lulav all day. Midos, character traits, were only hinted at. Dilamashal, for instance, Midas Hanakama, the prohibition against taking revenge, which is also being vengeful. If I got that word right, is a midos issue, but kol tamid chacham sheinu nokim v'noter umelach shemachal al kvodo ein kvodo machol, we do find that there are different guidelines for taking revenge, or maybe I'll say standing up for one's honor for different types of people. A king is not allowed to forgive his honor. So therefore, this cannot be a law that applies to every individual in the people of Israel, that you can't take revenge. This is not something that is equal to the Israelite group. Everybody according to their level. So therefore, this is just one example of why the Torah didn't dictate the rules of midot, of character. And we can speak about precise rules that are common to all of Israel with clear parameters about taking revenge about monetary matters. And that's what Chazal said, that if somebody didn't lend you and you say, I'm not going to lend to you because you didn't lend to me, so he's over on lo tikkun. But you did X to me, and I'm going to do X to you. I'm going to get back at you. So that's in the world of midot, but that's not legislated as a law that is common to all of Israel, as a chok. The same applies to arrogance. Going beyond the letter of the law, visiting the sick and burial. These things are spoken out in the works that research, the works of research. Now, the general theory is there are two groups of obligations. There are obligations that are mitzvahs that are common to all of Israel, and their parameters are going to be identical for all of Israel. Mezuzah. There's still a lot to learn. It's not that they're not complicated, but we can come to something that we can say is common to all of Israel. However, there's a whole group of things which we're not saying they're not obligatory, but they can't be considered a chok in the sense of, not chok in the sense of something without whose meaning we don't understand, but rather something which is a rule set in stone that is common to all of Israel. That includes the whole world of midot, the whole world of subjective obligation, things where it's going to make a difference who the person you're dealing with is. Now, what about Talmud Torah? ונמצא מצוות תלמוד תורה שבוודאי מבקש האדם טרף ומזון, בכל זה אינו נחשב למפריע מצוות תלמוד תורה, ואספת דגנך כסיף. If somebody needs to make a living, so that doesn't interrupt, that doesn't bother the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. The Torah says, v'asapta deganecha. And that's the Gemara that tells us that Rabbi Shmuel holds, and that's the way the Gemara seems to conclude, that v'asapta deganecha means that people can work to make a livelihood. V'chein l'mashal adam chalush hamezek. Somebody who has a weak constitution. Everybody according to whatever necessities he has, according to his habits. Now, so in other words, there might be some people who are going to be limited in their ability to learn Torah because of external circumstances, because of their personal health, because of their inner subjective makeup, and also according to the purity of a person's soul. You can't compare a person whose soul feels with his pure mind and connects with bounds of love to Talmud Torah, to somebody whose personal powers, whose personal abilities are weak and he's lazy. How is it possible that God, the Creator, made some obligation for all of Israel? It's so dependent on so much subjectivity. He put everybody's Talmud Torah in his own hands. It's not within human possibility to give some true measure for this. Therefore, Chazal came and they explained to us the parameters of the true core of Talmud Torah, which is going to be obligatory for everybody. Kriyat Shema Shachar, Kriyat Shema Arvis. Kiyom v'gisa bo yom v'layla. That if he read Kriyat Shema in the morning, read Kriyat Shema at night, he fulfilled v'gisa bo yom v'layla. You should. Now, the word v'gisa either means you should think about them, or you should speak in them. And I'm sorry, my memory fails me, but there is a whole discussion in the Meforshim on, and I think it's a running machlokas between Rashi and Ibn Ezra about the meaning of Higisa. Kevan Shalom Kabbalah Mitzvahs Azaraseha B'Shachris Varis. When he learns the acceptance of the mitzvahs and the commandment, the general commandment about mitzvahs, which is the core of the Shema. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. V'Havtas Hashem Elokecha b'chol v'chol the mitzvahs. So Kvar Kiyam Mitzvahs. That's the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, is to read a section about the core of Kabbalah mitzvahs in morning and evening. More than that, that's part of the mitzvahs where everybody has their own obligation. Everybody according to their level and according to their essence. And it's similar to avoiding bad midos, which everybody's different on that. So this is for me, it was such a common sense approach to Talmud Torah that in a very simple but not simplistic way makes everything make sense, makes the complexity and the sources about Talmud Torah make sense. On the one hand, they're telling me that you're Yotze through Kriyat Shema Shacharis and Arvis. On the other end, they're telling me to learn Torah constantly, and there's so much about learning Torah all the time. Of course, a person has to try his best to learn Torah. The Torah is always talking about Talmud Torah. But a person should excite his soul to be persistent in knocking on the doors of Torah. Like the holy Svarim talk about the Nefesh HaChaim and the Sifra Tanya and all the Sifrei Kabbalah and all the Sifrei Musar and the Gemara all over the place. Talmud Torah can get kulam. Talmud Torah is this awesome thing. He's not denigrating from the importance of Talmud Torah. It doesn't mean really all you got to do is just read Kriyat Shema and you're okay. Anything else is like icing on the cake. God forbid. On the other hand, there's a if you will, a chumrah that comes out of this. Somebody who does have the abilities, it sounds like he would be obligated to learn more than one might have thought otherwise. Just it was not legislated as one of the mitzvahs that is common to every single person in the people of Israel. Now, there's a beautiful way of reading this pasuk in Shmos. Mizharta eshem es achukim vesatoros. Again, this is talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, this is Parshas Yisro. You should warn them the chukim and the Toros. Those are the laws, the obligations of everybody. The Toros, the parshas of like Torah Hashem and Torah Achatas, all the different sections of the Torah that are the obligations, the different areas of Torah which are obligatory to everybody. That's common to everybody. Shaveh lekulam. But then, you should make them know the path to walk on and the actions that they should be doing. Meaning, you should also instruct them about things that are going to be individually obligatory. Now, here's I think a very a proof to the Ramir Simcha's approach, which is very hard to avoid. It's hard to read this Gemara and not be convinced that he's correct. The Gemara, just the background is as follows. Sorry about that. The background is as follows. A shvua is an oath where a person says he takes an oath to do a certain thing. And shvuas shouldn't apply to mitzvahs. Why? because we already took a shvuah on Mount Sinai to do the mitzvahs, and Chazal have a rule of ein shvuah chal al shvuah, meaning if you already made an oath about something, you can't make an oath on the same thing and it'll take effect. So, for instance, if somebody takes an oath, I'm going to give a candy bar to my son, and then he takes another oath, I'm going to give a candy bar. That second oath doesn't take effect. You can't take an oath on the same thing you already took an oath about. However, Chazal do say, "Minayin shenishboin lekaymes a mitzvah." How do we know that you take an oath to fulfill a mitzvah? Shenemar nishpati v'akayema lishmor mishpatei tzidkecha. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. I took an oath, and I will fulfill keeping your righteous laws. Sounds like the David HaMelech in Tehillim is speaking just casually, nonchalantly about taking a shvuah, a mitzvah. Nonchalantly is the wrong word. He seems to be assuming that it is possible. Ask the Gemara, V'alo mushba v'omed mehar Sinai, who aren't all of Israel already oathed on this particular topic, on every mitzvah? Ela hakamashmalan deshari le'inish lizruzei nafshi. The chiddush of nishboim lekaymes a mitzvah, what David did is a shvuah which is not something that is chal. It doesn't take effect in the standard rules of shvuah. Rather, it's something that is permitted to do in order to give oneself the enthusiasm to make sure that he does something that he's worried he won't. Rav Gidl Rav HaOmer Ashkim Be'eshnem Perek Zeh Eshnem Masechet Zo Neder Gadol Nadar LeLokei Yisrael. If somebody says, I'm going to get up and I'm going to learn a perek, I'm going to get up and learn a masechta, he has done a great neder. Now, neder here doesn't mean the origin meaning of neder is when you prohibit something on yourself. But there is a meaning of neder which is similar to a korban, a neder, which is when I take on myself to do something. Wait a second, don't we say the same thing? Isn't he already mushba on that topic? What are you going to say? It teaches me that Rav Gidl is teaching me that you can just energize yourself to do a mitzvah by taking a shvuah. Rav Gidl kamaisa. That's that other statement of Rav Gidl. So, Kevan the boy Pater Nafshe B'Kriyat Shema Shachris V'Arvis Mishum Hachi Chayil Shvuah. He's teaching me something else. This is not a neder. This is not a shvuah, in order to inspire yourself to make sure you do a mitzvah. Rather, this is an actual shvuah, because if a person wants, he could absolve himself through Kriyat Shema morning and evening. Therefore, the shvuah is chal on him. Now, this is exactly according to Rav Meir Simcha's approach. Chacham Ruben Adorim Dafches. I forget what that abbreviation is, but it's from our Gemara. That which we have to learn with all of our powers. That is not one of the rules that is common to all Israelites. Mitzvah pratis. That's not a particular mitzvah that applies to every Jew. Therefore, the shvuah does apply. So if a person makes a shvuah that he's going to learn a certain perek, or he's going to learn a certain masechta, all of Israel isn't obligated to learn that masechta. It would be similar to a person making a shvua that he's gonna do something particular having to do with midos. Also, that shvua would chal. And he just points out he respectfully differs with the Ran on that sugya. He says, I don't feel comfortable about what the Ran says there. The Ran says that you see from our Gemara that oaths apply to halachot that are learned out from drushes. He differs on that. He says that it's an oath because of the nature of Talmud Torah. Again, this is not to denigrate Talmud Torah. And a person might think that there's something about Talmud Torah that is second class, because we do find that if you're learning and some other mitzvah comes up, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to stop and do that other mitzvah if it's something that somebody else can't take care of. So you're mevatel Torah to eat matzah, to take the lulav, to everything. Even Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, he was learning constantly. He was one of those people that we say Toraso umnaso. His craft is Torah. He's one of those human beings that was totally engrossed in Torah. So, but even he would break to do a mitzvah d'oraisa. So on the one hand, Talmud Torah gives way to other mitzvahs. Now, there is a side explanation of that. If a person learns about all these mitzvahs, but he doesn't do them, so there's a pagam in his learning. There's a flaw in his learning. But, however, aval lachnis atzmo lechiyu mitzvahs Talmud Torah adif. Bringing oneself into the obligation of Talmud Torah is better, is greater than these other mitzvahs. Learning Torah is equal to everything. All of the mitzvahs, Talmud Torah keneged kulam. All of the mitzvahs are not equal to even one word of the Torah, of learning Torah, Talmud Torah. However, you do stop learning in order to do those other mitzvahs. Why? Once again, the elu chukim kolalim kol am Yisrael b'chova achas. Those are laws that include all of Israel in one obligation. Min Moshe Rabbeinu ad hapachos sheba'am, from Moshe Rabbeinu until the least, so to speak, of the person of the nation, and something that is subjectively obligated in the sense of it's going to be dependent on the person and the situation, gives way to one of those rules that is common to everybody. Now, a couple, addendum at the very end. He says from the Lashon of the Rambam, you'll notice that the Rambam, when he writes this into Talmud Torah, when he takes this Gemara in Nedarim, and he codifies it, he doesn't speak about Kriyat Shema. The Rambam says, Kol ish Yisrael chayev b'Talmud Torah. Every Jewish person is obligated every Jewish man is obligated in Talmud Torah, bein ani, bein asher, whether he's poor, whether he's rich, bein shalom begufa, bein bal yisurin, whether he is physically complete or he's going through suffering, bein bachur, bein shaya zaken, gadol shetashash kocho, whether he's a young man or whether he's an old person who's already weak, afilu haya ani amisparnis min tzedakah, even if he was a poor person who was getting his parnasa from charity, and he's going door to door. Afilu ba'alisha banim, even somebody who's got a wife and kids, chayav likvo lo zman leTalmud Torah bayom v'layla. He's obligated to set a time for Talmud Torah in day and night. Shenemar v'yigisa bo yom v'layla. The Rambam seems to be understanding that Kriyat Shema is not Kriyat Shema per se, but even if the person's day and night learning was equivalent to Kriyat Shema, so then he would fulfill his mitzvah. So if a person learns a halacha in the morning and a halacha in the night, that's also true. That's also a good kiyum. Midivra Rabbeinu nira dehach dekora Kriyat Shema shachris rois lav dafka Kriyat Shema. That's specific with Kriyat Shema. Raka gedru kviyas zman v'yom v'alayla. It's setting some time in the morning and the night. Now, there's in an interesting context, the Gemara is talking about constancy and how the lechem aponim, the showbreads, were on the table, on the shulchan constantly. The Gemara there talks about learning constantly. And the Gemara says, Tanya, Rabbi Yossi Omer afilu sila kesei yashana shachris v'sidras achadasha arvis, even if he removed the old bread in the morning and he set up the new bread in the afternoon, evening, ein b'chachlum, that's no problem. Elamani makayim lefanai tamid. What do I mean? That it's before me constantly. Shelo yalin shulchan below lechem. That the table, the shulchan, should not be without bread overnight. Meaning every day there should be bread on the table. There can be times when there's not going to be lechem aponim on the table. Again, there's another approach there that they would remove one bread and bring the other in, and there was never a moment when the table was without. But Rabbi Ami midvarav shel that. But this is Rabbi Yossi. Midvarav shel Rabbi Yossi nimon afilu lo shana alam el perek echad shachris v'perek echad arvis kiyam mitzvahs lo yamush sefer Torah zemipicha. That even if you learn one perek in the morning, one perek at night, you fulfilled the mitzvah of the sefer Torah should not leave your mouth. Why? Because you didn't go a day without learning. Am Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai afilu lo kora adam el kriyat shema shachris v'arvis kiyam lo yamush. If you fulfill lo yamush through kriyat shema. But it's forbidden to tell this to Amei Aretz. Why? Because they're going to think that they would, otherwise they would do some learning. And if you tell them, technically, halachically, you can fulfill it through Kriyat Shema, and say, oh, well, then I don't have to do my Mishnah Seder. I don't have to do my daily halach. V'Rava Amar mitzvah la'omro b'fnei Amei Aretz. Rava said it's a mitzvah to tell them that. Why? So Rav Meir Simcha explains. Even according to the approach that mitzvahs in general do not require kavanah. Again, we paskin, Shulchan Aruch brings both approaches, but it sounds like he paskins that mitzvahs do require kavanah. Again, this is not some special intention. This is intent to do the mitzvah. So, mikol makom boy she'eh yodea beis kriyaso shema shezeu divrei Torah v'yotze be'edei chovas libuda. But a person has to know when he's reading Kriyat Shema, meaning the Am Haaretz, who is fulfilling his mitzvah of Talmud Torah through Kriyat Shema. But even though he doesn't need intent to fulfill the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema, but he must, in order to do the act of Kriyat of Talmud Torah through it, he has to know that this is Divrei Torah, and he's fulfilling his learning through it. He has to know that he's learning Torah. Therefore, Rabbi said, mitzvah l'madin l'am haaretz, it's a mitzvah to tell the Amei Haaretz this, through this he will know that he's learning Divrei Torah. Now, the tzorach min Torah lemor kol parsha shel Kriyat Shema. He says something interesting here. In order to fulfill Talmud Torah through Kriyat Shema, you have to do the whole parsha of Kriyat Shema. After learning Kriyat Shema, sagi b'pasuk echad l'das rabim b'ayin chino. Even though for the mitzvah of Kriyat Shema, one pasuk is enough according to many, just the pasuk of Shema. Why? Why does Talmud Torah require more? The tzorach lemor chiyuv dinei Talmud Torah ve'azharas limuda uba pasuk harishon no sagi rak leinin Kriyat Shema dehu kabbalas o malchus shamayim sagi b'pasuk echad min haTorah. The first pasuk of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad doesn't say anything about Talmud Torah. What he's understanding is that when Chazal said that you can be Yotzei through Kriyat Shema Shacharis Arvis, there's a content to that. It's the content of Talmud Torah, B'shinantam L'manecha, V'dibarta Bam, Shivtecha B'veisecha, V'leftecha B'derech, that was this obligation. Again, the Sameach was a person who was called Sar HaTorah, the master, the minister of Torah, and he was renowned all over the place. Reb Chaim Brisker was excited about his sefer. These were this was somebody who was very picky about, so to speak, about Torah greatness. And he looked through the Or Sameach before he published to make sure that there's nothing in there that the Or Sameach already said. But when it comes to the mitzvah of Talmud Torah itself, so his approach is that there are really two categories of mitzvahs. There are mitzvahs that are common to all of Israel, and Talmud Torah has an aspect of that, which is common to all of Israel, which is, according to the Rambam, some learning morning and night. The Gemara seems to be saying Kriyat Shema Shacharis V'Arvis, and he makes a case that perhaps it's Dafka Kriyat Shema, but there is a certain minimum quantity of Talmud Torah that we can say is common to all of Israel. But because there's so many subjective factors, the person's abilities, the person's intellect, the person's midos, the person's family situation or his personal situation. So just like when it comes to midos, as important as they are and as obligatory as they are, but the Torah didn't legislate it in a way that has clear parameters. Proofs of that are the Gemara Nedarim, that if a person makes a neder, person takes an oath, technically an oath, to learn a particular amount of Torah, the oath is chal. The oath does take effect because the minimum is Kriyat Shema Shacharis V'Arvis. That's a very compelling proof. Okay, and this pasuk expresses the two different types of aspects of Torah. Bisartem es chukim es Torahs, the laws and the Torahs, which are applied to everybody, and then the personalized side. Everybody's individual avodas Hashem, which is going to be subjective. It's not necessarily a kula, it's also a churma, somebody who has abilities and he might sell himself short. Anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I wanted to wish you all a good winter.